Wednesday, July 20th, Sustainability and Resiliency Task Force meeting at 4:05. Call to order. We'll start with silent meditation and the pledge.
Okay, give me a second, Madam Chair. Go.
Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For all. Second.
Okay, and I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor Nickerson, for roll call.
Roll call. Member Valencia is absent. Member Webb is absent. Member Fruitstone.
Present.
Vice Chairperson McLean
Present.
and Chairperson Carpenter.
Present.
Madam Chair, you do have a quorum. Madam Chair, for the record, we do have Mr. Colin Brown here, who's going to be joining us. And I believe that is it, Madam Chair, for now.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
Madam Chair, I believe Mr. Brown wanted to add a presentation about the Indian Mound. Madam Chair, you can throw that wherever you want to throw it, Madam Chair.
Okay, why don't we put that as new item H4? Okay, so I'll go ahead and move that we add a presentation from Colin Brown about the Indian Mound as item H4.
I second.
All right. Do we need a vote on that?
You would be moving it, Vice Chair McLean, then she would need a second since she's the
Oh, I
chair.
can't.
I'm sorry. I thought I heard you move it.
I did. I didn't know I couldn't move it. Sorry.
I move that we add the item to the agenda.
I second.
Okay, well, we don't need a vote because that's
No, Virginia, all in favor, all in favor.
all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, hearing none opposed, the agenda is approved with those changes. And then approval of minutes from the following meeting.
Madam Chair, you guys will have those minutes next time. Madam Chair, I have about 30 minutes left in the last meeting to go through.
Oh, no problem. Well, great.
They'll
So
be ready
we'll
for
do
the
that
next.
then. And then I don't think we have any other, just looking at the participants list, we don't have any other people on, right, for, okay. Everyone.
No, Madam Chair, you can go right into the agenda, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. So no good and welfare. All right, agenda item. So H1, MS4 story permit compliance, the report card and story map. So I just wanted to thank you, Mayor Nickerson, for putting that on the agenda. I just wanted to bring that up because I think that, sorry, let me circle back from this. Okay, so this is the report card that Everglades Law Center and Miami Waterkeeper put together about stormwater permit compliance in Miami-Dade County for the 35 permittees that fall within that. And I just wanted to send that out to you all so that you could take a look at it, because I think it, it's really relevant to the work that we do as a task force, and then also relevant to our new work that we're doing with this environmental charrette.
Yep.
So it kind of outlines, I know we talked about this in our previous meeting, but just as a reminder, it kind of outlines all of the permitting requirements that all the municipalities must comply with, and it discusses, who's doing well, who's not. So I thought this would be a good resource for us as a task force so that we can assist the village with compliance. And then also for us to think about ways that we can use our permit to improve water quality that we're discharging into the Little River and feed into the required stormwater master plan. So we have a stormwater master plan, but I hadn't looked at it closely before this week, because I was looking at Mayor Nickerson. We talked about this, the 2002.
No, the red stuff.
So I took a
The
look at
nighttime cold medicine that's in the closet.
Sorry, one second. I took a look at what's the newest one, Mayor Nickerson? I have it open.
Yeah, the newest one. You mean what year is it from?
What year? Yes.
I have it open also.
It's like 2018, I want to say.
I believe so.
Okay, so taking a closer look at that, which I hadn't had the opportunity to do before, that plan really focuses on in dealing with our flooding and ways to move forward to build out our stormwater infrastructure. But the purpose of a stormwater master plan as it relates to our stormwater permit from the state has a different purpose. Our plan's about moving forward with stormwater. The stormwater master plan under the permit is supposed to be about managing stormwater in our existing system, which includes like our maintenance schedule and prohibiting the discharge of illicit chemicals and things like that. So just to read from the permit really quickly, it says each permittee shall implement a stormwater management program that shall include pollution prevention measures, treatment or removal techniques, stormwater monitoring, use of legal authority and other appropriate means to control the quality of stormwater discharge from the MS4. And then the permit requires us to use the stormwater management program as opposed, I think that's the difference. So we have a stormwater master plan, we need a stormwater management program. So the stormwater management program is supposed to address water quality and legally under the permit, it needs to reduce the discharge of pollutants to the maximum extent practicable. And the permit outlines the ways that qualify as reducing it to the maximum extent practical. If you do the things laid out in the permit, that is assumed to be your reduction to the maximum extent practicable. And then the other thing is effectively prohibiting the discharge of non-stormwater. So non-stormwater would be like septic tank effluent. That's not stormwater and isn't allowed to be discharged through our stormwater system. So I just wanted to share the actual report to everybody so that we can be thinking about that with our environmental charrette and maybe using the environmental charrette as a stepping stone to create a stormwater management program that talks about our maintenance system and ways that we're focusing our stormwater management on water quality, not just the flooding component. So that's that. Any thoughts or questions on that item?
No,
So our
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead, Madam Vice Chair. Go ahead.
No, all I was going to say is I just want to have a chance to digest the materials. So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I was just, go ahead, Madam Chair.
Nope, I was just saying that totally understand. I know it's only been like a couple hours.
So, no, I was just gonna say, so Madam Chair, our stormwater master plan doesn't necessarily have a management plan. So we need to develop a management plan separately and kind of like, you know, as an appendix in a way to like our master plan.
Yeah, it can be all in one document, but the stormwater management plan is the permit really outlines what needs to be in it. But what needs to be in it under the permit is like the bare minimum for compliance. So we need to do that. But I also think that, you know, we all care about the same things, that we can achieve more than the bare minimum through that management plan. And I think that that's what we're going to be talking about things in the future. But that's exactly right. Right.
So what I will do, I'll Madam Chair, especially after the meeting that you and the manager had, which you so greatly outlined the things that we need to kind of like at least put on record that we almost may be doing, that, you know, there are lots of that we were doing, we need to put on record, but there's things that we need to start doing. But I'll reach out to the engineering firm that did the stormwater master plan, and I'll come to them and keep you in that communication, and we'll get them to start on working on what a stormwater management plan should look like, and make sure they have all the elements that they need in that to add it to the stormwater master plan. That's what we're looking.
That sounds great. And after, you know, our great meeting, I think that, so the permit doesn't say that the stormwater management plan has to be in writing, but I don't know how you could have a stormwater management plan not in writing. And so the village is already doing a lot of things in that the permit requires. And like the report card that you guys will see, El Portal ranked very poorly in the report card just because of our annual report. But then when we sit down and talk about all the things we're doing so much better than it looks in our annual report.
So part of it is that we have to actually do better documentation.
Yes, exactly. And that was great news, right? So when we went through this project, the only thing that we could do to assess all 35 municipalities fairly is to look at the documents that were produced in public records requests. So the annual report that's required to be filed with the state every year to comply with stormwater permitting requirements, and then the stormwater documents that the city's provided. So if we look at our annual report, it looks like we're doing really badly, which is what the report that you guys have the link to will show. But then when I talk to the mayor and the manager, we're doing much, much better than that. We just need to get it in writing and, our documentation of what we're doing each year, and then also a management program that just outlines a lot of the things that we're already doing, but ways that we can make it better.
Yeah, so what that says to me is that we just have to actually make public a pretty good record of, we need to include it in make sure we're talking about it, but also just we need to make part of the public record a lot of the things that are already happening, right?
Absolutely.
Like even just, were you guys looking just at the annual report, or were you guys digging into other types of meeting minutes? Or, was it really primarily the annual report that we need to get this documentation into?
Yeah, it was primarily the annual report, and that's what the state looks at too for compliance, and the annual report is required. So we have to be doing the annual report, right? We looked at the annual report, we asked for, Miami Waterkeeper handled the public records request portion of it, but the annual report, the stormwater master plan, and the maps of the stormwater system and outfalls. And those are all required things under the permit, and they should provide all the information that a permittee is doing under their permit. But I think what we've found is that it's a really complicated process, and a lot of municipalities are probably doing better than they're writing down. But that's, once we can get baseline compliance to see what we're doing, then you can start doing the harder things, after that. Or they're not, you don't have to do them in that order, but it's something we need to, get our head around.
And there is no standardized reporting template for this. There is
Yes,
one.
the annual report is a form that the FDEP provides, and you fill it out.
Okay, so we just have not been filling out completely or paying attention to the areas that are.
Yep, I think
that
right. Yeah, we need to fill out our form better, and the form is not. What we are filling out is not fully capturing the work that is being done on our stormwater system. So I think we need to fully capture it, and then we can look and see what we're doing and see, what few holes we're missing in compliance, if any, and how we can actually achieve the spirit of the MS4 permit, which is to address water quality and not just checking off the boxes. Because even if this is an issue that, Everglades Law Center is dealing with at a higher level, but like, even if a municipality was 100% complying, the permit is not enough to actually achieve water quality goals. So we need to at least be achieving the permit requirements, and then, go above and beyond that to actually achieve water quality compliance.
Cool. Well, that sounds super actionable, and I'm really glad that we have you, that we have you have such a knowledgeable kind of observer or participant or whatever you want to call yourself on our that we have crossover.
Yeah,
it's great.
Absolutely. That's why I wanted to bring it up, and thank you for saying that. It's really complicated, and that's something that we've been advocating for in front of the county. I spoke in front of the county last week about their agreement to do the monitoring for the permittees, and about how that is an opportunity for the county to assist the municipalities with some of these things, and it's a missed opportunity.
How long has this been a requirement? Is this been around for a while, and we're now just starting to kind of like want to tighten it up?
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a requirement for decade. I don't know when MS4 permitting requirements started, but they're not new. This is just the first. I think I can say. I guess, yeah, I can say pretty confidently, like Miami Waterkeeper and Everglades Law Center's assessment of this is the first time anyone has looked at compliance across the county. And so it gave us a lot of information, and our position is that we need all of the municipalities in the county to achieve compliance with this at a bare minimum, but at a bare minimum to our efforts of achieving improvement to Biscayne Bay and water quality.
This is just proof that someone has to be looking in order for something to actually happen. So, or for things to get serious about things. So that's not that surprising to me, but it also seems like a great thing that you guys have picked it up. So it's cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Kristen. take a look, and then if I know you guys had very little time, if any, so look at that. So if anyone has any questions or wants to talk about this further, like on our next regular task force meeting, just we can add it to the agenda. But that was my spiel on it. And unless anyone wants to, I think that it'll be relevant for all of us to have that knowledge as we move forward with everything else. But if you want to specifically ask questions about it, let me know.
I think I'd like to propose that maybe the goal would be that we could review it before the special meeting next week and talk about it just as it touches on, or, may impact the, what we want to talk about around the, the special project work that we're doing, and that we can talk about, keep it on the agenda for the next regular task force meeting to just talk about a little bit more about what the village is going to do to address it, just as part of the public record, right? Does that make sense to you guys?
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. It's just, I think in terms of our, our
Yes, it does.
It's just a puzzle piece, to the whole thing, but I think it provides a lot of good background.
So to that end, if you don't have any objections, Adam's not on the call today, but Adam has been posting resource materials to our website to collect all of the various stuff together. And I would like to just ask him to add this to that.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
just so that it's all in one place. And then there was something else, and I don't know if this, we briefly touched on it last week, but he asked me the question and I couldn't remember. In our special meeting, you mentioned something else related to the county and the Little River designation. There was, and I don't know.
That's agenda item number 2.
Okay, awesome.
Yes. Does that sound right?
Yeah, he just was like, well, what did Elizabeth mention? I just couldn't remember. So great. Fantastic. Awesome.
And I, maybe 2 hours ago, emailed Adam with a link to this report as well. Right. So he has the report. Okay, great. So any other questions on that?
Nope.
No, I just want to say really quickly, Madam Chair, that everything that Vice Chair McLean said is so true. And just to that point, Vice Chair McLean, with Chairperson Carpenter and the information that she brought to myself and the village manager, a lot of it was just information that we had never heard before. So like you said, you have to have people that specialize in different things in government, because not all of us specialize in the same thing, And so when it comes to the environment, myself and Manager Lou, like we're great when it comes to funding and this and that. We're not up on, up to par when it comes to a lot of environmental issues. So we need individuals like you guys to bring us to task, and keep our feet to the fire, let us know. Otherwise, we don't know. And if you guys could have been a fly on the wall, Colin and Vice Chair McLean, if you guys could have been a fly on the wall just to see, just how organized the information was that Chairperson Carpenter brought us, you'd be like, oh my God, she should be. But let me just say this: Chairperson Carpenter has a great future in whatever she wants to do, but she already knows what I say about what she should do. We'll just leave that for where it is right now. Just leave it where it is right now. But she has.
I'm not at all surprised.
In whatever she wants to do. Trust me.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Chairperson Carpenter.
Well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate that. But absolutely, it was a team effort. And when I met with the mayor and the manager, it was really heartening to see all the great work along the lines that's already being done. And that was very inspiring, very heartening. So I'm excited to keep moving forward along those things and make sure that in this process, we're just capturing all that information appropriately in our annual report and using it as the building block for the other work we're doing, in the village and as a task force. So, all right, awesome. Thanks, guys. So moving on to item H2, for Kristen's great transition, to the RAP process, which is the Reasonable Assurance Plan. I can explain this, but Mayor Nickerson, we had, he had a call that I was on with the county about this process. So I don't know if you want to talk through it or if you want. Okay, all right, hang on. Let me get another. Okay, so the county is, I think we talked a little bit about this, but it's very confusing structurally where this fits in. So I'm going to just try to explain it in the 3. It took us a lot of time to understand this. So I'll try to synthesize it. But the the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, under the Clean Water Act, requires states to do assessments of all of their waters to determine which waters are impaired for certain pollutants. Once they determine the field of waters that are impaired, they rank those in priority of which ones are the most important to fix, right? Once they're ranked and on this list, the state is required to create what's called TMDLs for each of those water bodies. It's a total maximum daily load. That's what TMDL stands for. And it's basically the state going in and determining how much of a load of a particular pollutant that water body can accept before it exceeds water quality standards. And the problem is that everything already on that list is already exceeding water quality standards. So they need to get a target level for pollutants to reach to achieve water quality standards. So that process of creating the TMDL is very long and takes a lot of time, and it requires the state to allocate the pollutants to different sources. They need to find out where the pollution is coming from. So it turns out that there's an alternative to this fairly long, complicated TMDL process called a reasonable assurance plan. It basically says that if you have waters in the state that are listed as impaired, and the local governing body, usually the county, can provide the state with reasonable assurances and a reasonable assurance plan that they can achieve water quality standards in that body of water through this plan, they don't have to go through the process of creating the TMDL, which can take 10 years. And so the county, we have our water bodies that are on this list, but we're pretty low priority. And so the county said, instead of waiting for our water bodies to get to the top of the list, which could take, who knows how long, we are going to create a reasonable assurance plan for particular water bodies that would unlock some funding that the county has previously been excluded from because we're not already involved in the TMDL process. So the county has proposed a reasonable assurance plan that is addressing North Biscayne Bay, with the plan of expanding that to address all of Biscayne Bay. But they are trying to get it done really, really quickly by like September, so that there's a particular pot of money at the state level that you can only access if you have either a TMDL or a reasonable assurance plan. So the county is trying to get this reasonable assurance plan done really quickly by September so that they're eligible for those funds. They have released the scope of the area for the reasonable assurance plan, and El Portal is fully within that area. So the idea of a reasonable assurance plan is that it's supposed to replace this TMDL process. So it's supposed to provide a list of projects, plans, and measures that this area will undertake in order to make sure that that water meets water quality standards, which usually means you'd have to create a target level. Like you need to reduce the input of nitrogen by 30%. And if you reduce nitrogen by 30%, we'd meet water quality standards. I'm obviously oversimplifying it, but that's the general idea. And so the county's in the process of doing that plan, met with El Portal, and I was on that call last week, and is asking us as a village to give the county, as part of this plan, the projects that we already have on our list to be implemented that will affect water quality in the Little River and Biscayne Bay.
And is septic to sewer one of those things that we are going to put on that list? Does it qualify? Yeah, okay. Because it seems to me like that's like one of the biggest impact projects where we need to try to figure out how to fund it, right?
Yeah, septic sewer is actually, we already turned that into them. We turned that into them already. We've already turned into them, I believe, I can open the email. I think it's 5 projects we've already turned into them. And so what we were also talking about on that, well, let me just say, first of all, in full transparency, the same way that we were just discussing in the last agenda item where Chairperson Carpenter brought to our attention certain things that we just didn't know about, and therefore we were missing out on those things and therefore ranking low in the report card and things like that. Miami-Dade County, which has 1 million employees and all the resources possible, did not know that they needed this plan. and therefore didn't really realize it until they missed out on the pot of money and was like, why are we missing out on this pot of money? They're like, well, you don't have a TMDL and you don't have a wrap. You're like, oh, well, let's try to get this, let's try to get this together. So even the humongous Miami-Dade County, with all the experts there, even they, missed out and didn't get the information that they needed to have everything in order. So it just kind of shows you that if you don't have, again, these individuals like yourself, Madam Vice Chair, like Chairperson Carpenter, to, hold us elected officials and educate us, even at the largest levels, we can slip up and miss out on things, and they missed out on a lot of money. The second thing I want to say also is that Chairperson Carpenter, the county brought this to us like, hey, look, there's this thing, and let's explain it to you. Chairperson Carpenter had already put that on my radar like 2 months ahead of time. Like before anybody else said anything, before the county even mentioned it, Chairperson Carpenter was like on a phone call one night, was like, hey, Mayor, look, this is going to be coming down the pipe. This is what this is. This is a wrap. This is the TMDL. And I was like, I'm just talking about, I can't say enough about Chairperson Carpenter. Guys, go ahead.
Awesome.
Well, I've got a leg up with my day job touches on this stuff pretty closely, so I have a slight advantage.
Yeah, we'll talk about punching above your weight. Awesome.
So yeah, I think that's something that, you all mentioned on the great presentation last week about like the AAA plan and being involved in that. I think this wrap is kind of, a similar thing that we need to be thinking about. The question that I had for the county that they don't have an answer to yet, which will, I think, matter a lot. The idea of a wrap as opposed to a TMDL is that the community and the municipalities and private industries are supposed to all come together, sit down at a table, essentially, metaphorically, and decide collectively how they're going to get pollution loads down. So that, in other examples, like Tampa Bay has a wrap, they're basically saying, oh, Duke Energy was a part of that. Like, we'll reduce our, discharges of, XY pollutant nitrogen by, this many parts per billion. And it's all voluntary. So each of these different stakeholders voluntarily agrees to reduce their pollutants. Whereas a TMDL is the state telling you what you have to do.
We have a challenge with this, right, though, because we're such a small municipality that we don't have any. It's going to be challenging for us to come up with a private partner. We can do the community process part of it, but we don't have that many private partnerships that necessarily would impact this, right?
Well, right. It's not necessarily our job as a municipality to be doing that. Like the county, as the county hired a consultant, and the consultant needs to be making sure that all the participants are at the table. We are only responsible as a village for what the village is responsible for, right? So that means municipal stormwater, septic to sewer, things like that. We're not responsible. We have some responsibility for industrial stormwater, but it is ultimately the private business that's responsible for that. So they need to be doing that. Obviously, we can help with that. But the question that I had was, is the county through this wrap going to be giving us a specific nutrient reduction amount?
Well, I had that question myself, right? Because there's some challenges in just measuring. There are challenges in getting consistent data on the water quality. We have the best, most consistent data is that DERM data, but it's like woefully inadequate for understanding things like stormwater runoffs and
Right.
It's just, all it does is just peg the overall load that's on the river.
Right.
So that was part of my question, right? So we've been measuring at the basin. FIU has a monitor in at Northeast 2nd Avenue, but aside from that and what's on the S27 that South Florida Water Management has, we only really have 3 sensors. And none of them are, really adequate.
Right. So with our MS4 permit that we were just talking, the report card, deals with, MS4 is municipal separate stormwater soup system. It's 4 S's. So MS4 is the municipality's permit for stormwater. Under that permit, we have an agreement with the county for the county to do all of our monitoring that is required by us under the permit. and they give us a monitoring report, and it should get attached to the annual report. When I was meeting with Mayor Nickerson and Manager Lou, the village manager sent an email as we were sitting there asking the county to start doing more targeted monitoring at our specific outfalls. And whether they do that or not is another question, but that's a problem, Everglades Law Center was talking about generally in the system, is that, you put a monitoring site, and you're the expert on this, Kristen, but you put a monitoring site and it's just mixed with all the water from all the municipalities in the river.
There's real challenges. I think that this is a whole other conversation that we could actually say we wanted to convene a sidebar conversation on, because Hugh and Adam and I have been trying now for more than a year to figure out a sensor solution, because we have some funding. We have money in the bank that we are ready to spend on a sensor that will measure some of these nutrients. And actually, Adam has already identified potential spots that are strategic where we would want to monitor, so we could look at stormwater runoff. And and it's possible for us to do something like, if we have a monitor at 95 and we have a monitor at the S27, we can at least see what the quality of water is within our stretch. But that, to your point, we know from the DERM monitoring that the water is pretty good 12 miles west of us, and it just gets progressively worse. And that's not all us. So how we set metrics for success in reduction, how we determine what's ours versus what's already in the river, like those are all really thorny questions, not to mention the fact that, sensors are sensors that meet the scientific standards for being able to be used for study they're expensive. So I don't know. I think like we could probably, in the squeaky wheel department, we could come up with a strategy where we actually, ride the county on this one, because in this, that's the way we would get it done, is if we just keep harassing them about it. But it's not so simple as,
So the county, we
Kristen, can I add to that?
Yes, please, you.
Let me just respond really quickly.
Go ahead.
So the county, when we talked to them last week about their interlocal agreement, the county says that they will do additional monitoring for any municipality that wants it if they pay for the additional monitoring. So if we wanted, right, of course, right.
Of course, right.
Yeah. But that's their response to it. And I know the manager has asked for monitoring at our actual outfalls, but you guys are more familiar with this time. So sorry, Hugh, go ahead.
Before Mr. Gladwin jumps in, let me just say really, really quickly, you guys, that Mr. Gladwin's going to speak. I'm going to try to get back in touch with member Stone. I'm going to let you guys finish this agenda item off.
Is she not on? Are we out of quorum?
Once we don't have a quorum, it's supposed to stop immediately. But you guys, I want to at least get you guys through this agenda item since you guys started it. I'm going to try to get in touch with her offline. If we can't get her back on, this will be the last agenda item because we do not have quorum. But go ahead, Mr. Gladwin.
Gotcha. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, I'm a little confused about the time. Did the meeting start earlier? Or?
No, it started at 4.
Oh, okay. I guess for some reason my calendar said 4:30. So, I'm sorry. I just want to say couple things. One is I was incredibly excited to see what all the stuff that the mayor put that you had gotten, Chairperson Carpenter. I do have some questions about it if there's time at some point. The second thing I just want to say to Kristen, I think you haven't been current, Kristen, with the things that Adam and I have been doing.
Okay.
We're talking, or we haven't kept you that current, but we
it's for high school,
yeah.
But you get it in like the third quarter.
Yeah, we do. I decided to go ahead and spend about $3,000 from
Our funds.
certain funds that are kind of going to be part of the park project. Not 3,000, I think it was like 1,000. To get a couple of additional sensors, the little hand sensors. So I think we're set. The problem right now is that I'm not at the house on a regular basis, but as soon as we can start doing daily measurements of, enough key indicators. I have been doing sporadically measuring oxygen concentration and other stuff at the sensor side. And I should also mention that if you go to the Little River Conservancy webpage, Adam has created a wonderful sort of dashboard there where you can get live access to all the sensors that have live access data sites. You can actually download data from them, see what's going on in Biscayne Bay. It's really incredible. So
Awesome. That's great.
So I think we've made good progress on that.
So I think the question is then whether or not, well, I mean, how that meshes with, I don't know, Hugh, how much you heard about the that the wrap part of what we're going to need to do for the
What
village.
I wasn't clear was,
Go ahead.
is the document, the report from the Water Management District completely separate from the RAP, or did you get them together?
The
There's a
The
document.
response letter, Madam Chair, the response letter, the response letter to the South Florida Water Management District.
Oh, yes, there's
They're
the three separate things. Yeah, so the email today was the Everglade Law Center and Miami Waterkeepers report card on stormwater compliance. Then the RAP, which were the attachments that we received from the county. And then separately, we got a letter back from the South Florida Water Management District about our comments on their flood resiliency plan last year.
Yeah. Okay.
So three unrelated things.
Yeah. Well, they are unrelated.
They're all related, of course, but
they are related. There's some really significant things. The first is the person from the Water Management District who sent the cover letter. That's tremendously significant because he's their top grant guy. I mean, this indicates to me, the first place, he was very, very complimentary and nice about the task force in the village in that letter.
hang on, Hugh. If we have this as an agenda item 3,
Okay,
so let's
then
just
I'll wait for that. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So we're still on agenda item 2, which is the wrap. So do we want to talk more about that?
Well, my reaction to the ramp is simply, it's incredibly important, but what's going to matter is the money. And the money right now is all coming from the Water Management District. I mean,
So
they're the ones that want to spend the money, so they're going to make it happen. So I think it's incredible.
I don't know the role that the Water Management District has in the RAP. I don't know that they're
They don't
not
have
involved,
any role.
but that's what I was gonna say. I don't know.
They're
If
just
they're
the
not
money
involved
people.
in anything. The RAP opens up a grant from the state, but I've not heard any discussion about the Water Management District aside from their usual role being involved in the RAP.
Well, that's sort of not what they said when we had that meeting with them. They're kind of going back to the old days. In the old days, the Water Management District was on top of all the grant getting, all kinds of little grants. It's like, remember when they said, why do you think Cutler Bay gets all this money? You remember that meeting? This wasn't a task force meeting. This was a meeting the village had.
Okay.
Okay, so the village had a meeting with a Water Management District. I think you were at it. The
It was
mayor
the
was at it.
LMS meeting, Hughes, when I was asking all those questions about how do we get more with our LMS list, how do we get more things on
Yeah.
the list? It was that meeting that we had with them.
Yeah.
And they were saying like Cutler Bay got a whole bunch of their things funded through the LMS. And so I was confused. I was like, just kind of adamant about how can we get more things funded through our LMS?
Yeah, and their answer was Cutler Bay actually gets a lot of money because they work with the LMS. They've got their LMS grants, but they work closely with the Water Management District. And the water management district, as they used to be in the past, are just wizards at getting money from every source. I mean, it was like, during the session in Tallahassee, people go up and ask for money. But in the old days, you would work with your water management district person down here. They would go up and cobble together money into different grants and things. And that's what they said Cutler Bay does. They get all these little grants put together for one thing, so I do think, I think the RAP is great because it declares the county's intention. And there's probably money there, and it's probably connected to some bureaucracy, and it's connected to a lot of legal measurement things that, the Everglades Law Center and everybody knows about. But, what they want to do on water quality takes money, and the district is, that is now a huge priority for the district. It's not the same level of priority as flood control and those kind of things, but
Yeah, so I think that
it's not, I just, like on any legal connection, what monies we can entitle to or official grants, there's no connection between the RAP and anything else. We just have to go with the RAP, but I think, let's wait till the appropriate agenda item, but I think it just opens up a lot of good possibilities.
Yeah, I think that the fact of having the RAP is a program under the Clean Water Act. So it's a, federal delegated to the state. There's nothing inherently about a RAP that creates money, but the state created a pot of money for people that have RAPs. So it happens to be the case. But they said, and Mayor Nickerson, please correct me if I'm wrong, they said this year there's a grant for people that, to qualify, you have to have a RAP, but it may not be an annual thing. It may not be reoccurring. There just happens to be a funding opportunity this year. But, there may be a lot of other funding opportunities in the meantime. But the county, the only thing I wanted to add to Kristen's point was that the county said that they're still figuring out what the target pollutant reduction will be and whether it's going to apply to the entire RAP area, which encompasses everything up from Biscayne Park. It's not huge, but it's like Biscayne Park on the north, North Bay Village on the east, and 95 really on the west, Mayor, if I recall.
Yeah, it's basically covering the Biscayne Canal and C7, right? Like,
exactly, but only the east side of it. It doesn't go into the headwaters, which I find very concerning because obviously we're just at the tail end of this system. When we, Everglades Law Center has had meetings aside from the village asking about that. Their plan is to continue to expand the RAP, make a new one, from different areas. And we really want to see, I don't know how they're going to have a scope of work that only addresses the outlet of the river, that addresses water quality in the entire river. And so we want to see something in this RAP that says the next step, something that is enforceable, is the next step after this is to go upstream and address the properties, west of us.
I mean, I don't know strategically like what their thinking was, but there is a high density of septic in the area that you've identified. And it does seem to me that there's probably a bit of urgency, or they recognize that there's a bit of urgency in doing that conversion. And so keeping it tight allows for money to be directed in that area, in the short term, maybe. I mean, I don't know, but
just going to the requirements, like the plan is supposed to be a reasonable assurance plan that the water will meet water quality standards. So that's asking this small area to do efforts or projects to make the entire little river.
Do all the heavy lifting for the whole body. Yeah.
Right. And I just don't think that that's, even if we had the funding to, I just don't think we can do that. If we're continuing to receive pollutant discharges from upstream. So that's a concern that Everglades Law Center had. I don't know how that plays into how we want to proceed as a village, but they basically said, just the last point I want to get out is that they They're still figuring out whether we will have a specific nutrient load target and whether it applies to just El Portal or the entire RAP area, but we may be required to reduce or strive to reduce our nutrient loads by a specific percentage or a specific like amount, like parts per billion or something like that.
And
So-
Chairperson Carpenter, no, go ahead, Chairperson Carpenter. Go
No,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, they said they don't know yet. They're still figuring it out. So that's just to put in the back of your head. Go ahead, Mayor.
I was just gonna say, I know Hugh Glatt wants to speak also. Chairperson Carpenter is absolutely correct. And what Madam Chair was pretty much kind of telling you guys also was that we couldn't get really concrete answers from them because they kept saying, you know, with the RAP and this and that and El Portal, and a few times they said, well, you know, El Portal, you guys are in a special position because you guys are not only, you know, falling within like our map for, with the RAP is concerned, but you guys are also within like AAA, so you guys are within both. So I was like, okay, well, I said, when it comes to your priority list of the map for the RAP, where does El Portal fall in your priority list? And we really couldn't get, Madam Chair, a really, really distinctive answer out of them when it came to that. Because I said, if you guys are coming around saying all of these things, then it would seem to me like El Portal would be like pretty much ground zero. And for El Portal, which is so small, and you got to talk about, you have all these hundreds of millions of dollars and all this type of stuff within the fund that there's this funding available now and more than ever before for environmental projects. In El Portal, it takes like $5 million. It takes $5 million to do all of El Portal except the sewer. And so if we're in the AAA and we're within the RAP, so we're in a special position and things like that, then why wouldn't El Portal be one like top or second or at least on your priority list? They wouldn't tell us that. They wouldn't really tell us, they really didn't give us answers to that. Also, they were saying that, which Elizabeth taught me, Chairperson Carpenter taught me, was that they're going to, unlike other situations when it comes to funding, which are politically connected, the RAP is 100% scientifically connected to where whatever the science is going to determine where the money goes. And Madam Chairperson, you might want to expand on that. But where other funding that the other type of funding where, myself and Manager Lou have been so successful, we've been blessed to be so successful, it's all networking and connections that's more politically connected. And this is going to be done a totally different way, Madam Chair.
You're muted.
Thank you. It's supposed to be replacing the TMDL, which is allocating the pollutants. So they're supposed to be with a normal TMDL, you would sit down and say, we have, I'm just making easy numbers, 100 parts per million of phosphorus, and we need to get it down to 20. Who is discharging the other 80 parts per billion? And if it turns out El Portal is discharging 70 of them, then El Portal is your priority. If it turns out we're only discharging 10, they need to look out, they need to find out where the pollution is coming from, and then that is the priority area. But because this is such a quick process, so a RAP should normally, I think the fastest RAP that's ever been put together was like 1.5 years, and they're doing this in like 3 months.
And just to be frank, Madam Chair, just to be frank, excuse me, Madam Chair, for chiming in, but I just want to say this really quickly, Madam Chair. To be frank, you guys, what we're concerned about, myself, Chairperson Carpenter, we're really concerned about we are hopeful that their intentions for the RAP is to see it through and through. Because since they did not have the RAP prepared and they lost that funding that we needed so badly, we have a slight bit of concern that they're just trying to get the RAP, get it through to be in compliance so that they can get the funding. And then after they get the funding that they need and that they're looking for, that the RAP may take, a back seat as far as continuing with the same type of ferocity to get things cleaned up in the future.
Yeah, or the political parties change and the next administration is not as interested, and it's just another list of projects on the back burner. So
it looks to me
with rushing it
from the documentation you sent, Elizabeth, and maybe I'm conflating the two in my quick read, but it looked to me like North Bay Village and Miami Shores had already received funding. Was that RAP funding or is that something else?
I don't know what that is.
All right, let's continue the conversation and I will see if I can find it.
that was something else. That was something else. As a matter of fact, El Portal signed an MOU as part of that, except the sewer. That was the sewage connection. I believe that was a sewage connection project. That's the one where they told us within 10 years, if we don't have any funding that we need for our village-wide the sewer, we signed an MOU that says that we would break ground. They would break ground within 10 years for the village of El Portal. That's that MOU.
So it's slide, I don't know what the slide number is, but it's in that same thing where it says that there's existing water quality improvement grants funded existing water quality improvement grants funded projects in Northern Biscayne Bay Phase 1, Miami-Dade County, North Bay Village by Miami Shores and City of Miami. So I guess what they're saying is there are previous grants and there's some projects already in motion based on previous funding for this.
Yeah. There's no RAP money has been given out because they're just getting the RAP done now. There's no RAP funding that has been given out.
Okay.
Hugh?
I guess I'm posing this, but I don't know what it would mean. But I mean, suppose this is something Adam and I have talked about doing, particularly Adam. Like we go out right now, it's not raining at all. The river water's not moving. All the water off of El Portal in the river is coming. Anything in the water new is coming from El Portal. So Adam goes out in his house, I go out in my house, we get water samples, we bring them to a lab, get tested for fecal coliform and phosphorus. That's pretty clear proof that El Portal is discharging, nutrient pollution out of septic systems. Then what happens? Can we ask the Everglades Law Center to sue us so we'll be forced to get funding? Or what, I mean,
I would say that is not.
Is any of this happening, or is it really, is this all pie in the future? Nothing for the present.
Well, so you raise a really important point here that I was thinking about relative to what we've just been talking about, and raises the point about asking the county to do the monitoring. Like
the county is already doing the monitoring.
Okay, so they are already doing monitoring at our outflows.
Not at our outfalls. They're doing it in the river. We pay.
Sort of. Oh, the law center?
No, the village of El Portal pays the county every year to do monitoring that we attach to our MS4 stormwater permit. We have an agreement with them and we just signed a new one for the next 5 years.
Okay, do we have access to those results?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get them annually. Annually, I think, Mayor?
Yeah, I've never seen them. That's why I'm curious.
There's all this public data that's crazy that we're not given that data.
So it wasn't attached to our last annual report either, but that's what it's, so every year we have to submit a report to the state and the part of our permit requires us to do the water monitoring. And the county has an agreement, and it's called the interlocal agreement with all of the municipalities to do the monitoring for every municipality. And then they send the individual monitoring to each municipality for them to attach to their annual report.
Right. All I'm saying is it's a little weird that, as Kristen said, we've been knocking ourselves out, trying to calibrate sensors, trying to get data. And there's data sitting in the village that's not even being shared with Little River Conservancy. And we're doing this for the task force. I mean, that's pretty weird.
Well, I'll get from the engineers the data that came in last year.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's very well calibrated.
I mean, the problem is if the data has to be well calibrated, they have to have the exact date, time that we can be traced, otherwise it's just like a bureaucratic exercise.
My understanding is the monitoring that the county is doing is they'll have like what Kristen was saying earlier, they have one monitoring site in a little river and they'll say, here, El Portal, this is your data, even though it's not targeted at the discharges actually coming out of El Portal.
Yeah. Well, you can get that on as I said, Adam has a dashboard with that data such as it is that we.
It
can
may be
get.
the same data. I don't know. I've seen the agreement, but it may be the same data you already have.
I think so in the interest of like moving us forward, I would
Yeah.
suggest that Omar, if you could share with the resilience, with the task, with the, who are we? The
Task force, yeah.
task force, if you could share that with us as part of the public record for maybe, probably I think the next regular meeting would, or I don't know, or maybe in advance of the special meeting next week, but if we could just get it so that we can understand how it intersects with this
And
other
not,
stuff. we've done.
and also the task force consultants, so they can
Mhm.
prepare a report.
It may
for
be
you.
that it's the same monitoring you guys are already looking at from the county, because I'm sure the county makes that all public.
It goes to our engineering firm. I'll get it from you.
Okay, so maybe we can just put water monitoring or whatever QC on the water monitoring onto our next agenda, just so that we can track it.
Okay, great. So we only have about a half hour left. So that's just, go ahead, Mayor.
I see two Colin Browns. Are one of these Maribel by any chance?
Oh, we lost Maribel again.
Yeah, we lost her a little while ago. I was trying to get in touch with her, but
I think I saw the correct amount of boxes and
yeah. Colin,
I'm still here. Yeah.
the other Colin, is that you? Do you see the other Colin on the screen?
Yeah. I just did something with my phone.
Okay,
okay, so we lost Maribel.
so we lost Maribel. Yeah.
I have another question on the record if we get her back,
Okay.
having to do
Is
with,
it- is it
having
for-
to do with
is-
membership.
Is it
Yeah.
for the wrap? Because we can still talk
The,
about
the
that.
rap, you can talk about the rap. You just can't move on to H3 or anything beyond. So let me just call.
I could probably contort myself to discuss it in the context of the rap.
It's all good. It all relates, right? So y'all could, you could politically, what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
just
mean, I
slide
could
your way
basically
into-
say, are we going to be able to continue to work on the rap because we seem to be having quorum issues? And are some of these quorum issues permanent quorum issues or temporary quorum issues?
Yeah,
That's my question. So,
but we should probably hold off on that one.
yeah.
Quick last thought on the wrap while we're waiting. The mayor did an awesome job basically telling the county, I know you already mentioned this, Mayor, but about all this extra funding that is, millions and millions of dollars, record setting, and El Portal could be fixed with septic to sewer and 5 million. And I feel like I visually saw the county folks we were meeting with take that in a really meaningful way and internalize that could give us a lot of bang for our buck in water quality. And that's really what this is supposed to do. So I think that point you made was it felt to me, Mayor, it was very well received by the county. So you may have, I know you've been pushing that all over the place and I think it's being effective.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to Chairperson Carpenter, and I was telling her that I've been getting invited to speak at a lot of events recently. And I was like,
because Mayor Nickerson is the mayor of the year for Miami-Dade County.
What?
Really?
yeah, I want mayor. Yeah. A few months ago, I
Oh.
was mayor. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Madam
wonderful.
Chairperson, you are too much. She saw I was trying to slip by
I
that.
saw an opening.
She wouldn't let it-
Congrats.
Fabulous.
I appreciate you guys. I've been invited, so I've had to go and speak at a lot of different events. And I was telling Madam Chairperson that I don't think they're going to be inviting me back again at any of these places, because I'm trying to go to these places. And I take Christia with me, and we're there. Everything's good, and everything's fine. And like Christia says, Christia's like, look, the mayor's a happy person. He's always in a good mood. He's always happy. But don't let that smile fool you, because you can't just keep rolling him out for public relations purposes because he's mayor of the year. And now he's taking the mic and he's like, yeah, I appreciate being here, but El Portal's 100% on septic tanks. It only takes $5 million. I don't understand why we're still, I don't understand why nobody helps us out. So I go off script every time I have to do a speech now. I go off script talking about all the stuff we talk about here at the task force. So I don't think you see the faces like a Chairperson Carver said, you see the faces of like all these individuals are over there like, oh man, I don't know if we can have him at the next one. We might want to be careful. We might have to vet him from now on.
Hey, I know you're a humble dude, Omar, But I just want to make sure that the residents of El Portal are fully aware of the fact that
Yeah.
you've received this award, and also just that they understand the funding success that you've had in the last year. Like,
I think that should be all over our website.
it should be really prominently featured just as a press release or whatever, because I think it is super duper important heading into this fall that people are aware that, you know, you guys have been very effective in the last couple of years.
Yep.
I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all. I've texted her. She hasn't texted me back. I'm gonna call her. And then if I don't get her through the phone call, you guys might have to. Give me 1 second. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And let me just say that all the work, you know, that we do, and everything that I get, you might as well attach Manager Lou's name to it. Because everything that I do, you know, I do with her and we do together and I do for her. Besides that, you all, like, we're here and we, you know, I ran for this seat. I asked for this. Manager Lou, she works, you know, for everything that she does. But you guys, what you guys bring, Kristen, not even living in El Portal any longer, right? Hugh as a consultant, Madam Chairperson Carpenter, who, you know, is so organizationally intellectual that she's, you know, so far beyond what you guys do. It's like, it to me, like, I'm in awe of everything you guys do, like, all the time. So I really appreciate you, man. Like, you guys are, like, you know, not only you know, who I feel like I'm blessed to, like, have in my corner and work alongside, but you guys, I feel like I'm blessed to really, like, just even know you all. I think, like, this area of, like, El Portal, you know, Miami Shores, Biscayne Park is, like, I think we have, like, a really unique group of residents that I think that a lot of people just within Miami-Dade County, much less Florida, United States, like, don't really realize kind of like who we have here in, like, this little area. It's like a special, like, it's a special vibe that goes on around here. So it's amazing. I talk with Manager Lou all the time just about how, and I'm going to call Member Fluston in a second, but I just want to say real quick, I talk to Manager Lou all the time about how El Portal, to be so small, we're the smallest budget in Miami-Dade County, the smallest municipality in Miami-Dade County. And, you know, the funding that we've been getting and the stuff that we do to have to compete with all the big boys, it's like, and Chairperson Carpenter, me and you speak about this all the time, we have to, like, work 100 times harder just to keep up with the big boys. And it's like, you know, we talk about other places, City of Miami or whoever, it could be Pinecrest, whoever, they have multiple staff members, they have multiple individuals. We're small, you know, we don't have anybody. And so, to be perfectly honest with you and perfectly frank, the success that we have is because people like you all pick up that slack of the staff members we don't have. You know, the staff members that Coral Gables has, and City of Miami has, and Miami Gardens has, and Key Biscayne has. Like, these people have staff. Like, Manager Lou's the lowest manager in the lowest paid manager in the entire Miami-Dade County. Clerk Jacoby, lowest paid clerk in all of Miami-Dade County. You know, it's myself, it's me and Manager Lou. We're the ones up. I act as her assistant manager. I act as Clerk Jacoby's deputy clerk. No other mayor in Miami-Dade County or even the United States is putting together agendas and going through minutes. Like, it's such a special situation that we have going here. I think it's just a lot of people don't really realize.
Yeah.
We do get to move fast, though.
Yeah.
We move fast.
Yeah,
There's a high
absolutely.
level of accountability.
Yeah,
for it.
absolutely. All right, let me call Chairperson.
Well, that's why you deserve a Mayor of the Year, Mayor Nickerson. So thank you.
So where are we?
We just finished RAP. So we're going to move on to H3, which is the South Florida Water Management District issue that you mentioned earlier. If we get Maribel back on, but we can't move forward without a quorum.
Am I allowed to ask you a vocabulary question?
Yeah, I think so.
In a budget, if something's called a RFI, do you know what that means?
Request for information.
What if it's a budget item? RFI 500,000.
Oh, I don't think I know the answer to that one.
Okay, well, I'll bring it up in the next agenda item and you can see.
Okay,
if
she
it
said
makes
she'll be
sense.
on, in a couple of minutes. Her Wi-Fi was glitching and then she just turned on her streak. So she said her Wi-Fi will catch on in a second. She'll be back on in a couple of minutes.
Can we do, so I know we added Colin Brown's presentation to H4, but since that's not anything that the task member, since it will be Mr. Brown speaking and not the task force members, can we get started on that? No? Okay.
I know you see that's the attorney in her. That's the Esquire in her coming out right there.
Looking for a loophole.
That was slick, Madam Chair. That was slick, but no, no, we're not even supposed to be having the meeting. We're supposed to suspend the meeting when quorum leaves. So like that's the way, like if you ever like see her sometimes or whatever, the craziness that happens in like Washington DC, whenever they want to just stop let's say if there's the the opposing side,
They just get up and leave.
They just get up and leave and walk out. The other side just gets up and leave and walks out, and they don't have enough for quorum. They have to stop when they don't want a vote to go through. If they don't have the numbers to beat the vote, but they don't want the vote to go through, the whole other side just gets up and leaves and walks out, and they have to stop. They can't even go on any longer. So
Politics at its finest.
exactly.
Democracy.
Democracy. For sure. Oh man, it's all good. I do have Hugh. I do have that LMS meeting. I took a lot of notes on it that we had that one time, and I actually have it on the. I was going to put it on this agenda, but I knew that we were going to be speaking about a lot of different things, so I have LMS meeting discussion on the next agenda. I already have it on there.
Oh, good.
So we can go over that. So because a lot of good information came out of that meeting. So
yeah,
everybody needs to hear about. All right, Member Fruitstone. Madam Chair, what you could do is, since it's 5:12, I mean, I don't know, you look at the agenda, there might be things that you want to X out.
I mean, we only really have 3 things left. It's the water manager, the district comment, and then Mr. Brown's presentation, and then our vacancy.
That's true.
I mean, they can all potentially be moved to the next meeting, but
hopefully not. We can at least probably get at least one
more. More. Yeah.
Yeah, and the vacancy thing, I just have like a couple sentences to say about that. It'll be really, really quick. So,
Mr. Brown, your presentation, is that something that overlaps with our charrette work, or is it specifically like task force discussion?
It is in relation to the El Portal burial mound and some of the documents that the mayor sent out to us and asked us to provide feedback on and express any direction.
Madam Chair, I actually have that in we were going to go over the last part of the agenda that we always go over, which is the open items and that part. I was going to mention that there are review items and open items. I was going to mention that there. Remember I asked you guys, and I'll send the email out, just kind of like your wish list when it comes to like the parks and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay,
that's part of that.
So it's intended to be very, very quick, and it's intended to just be a unifying approach to the mound, and I live right next to it, so I wanted to do well. Yeah, I think what Chairperson Carpenter was asking was if it was related to the charrette, then it could wait for the charrette special meeting. But I think it's a separate issue. I think this is about the mound period, not necessarily the mound in relation to the charrette. It's just about the mound period, I believe.
Gotcha. So okay.
It can relate to the charrette, and if it works best for everybody, I'm more than happy to go over it next week. We'll see. Let me call. I don't want Member Fruitstone to get upset. Let me call her again. She's like, I told you I'd be there.
She's a pretty tolerant person. We can harass her a little bit. I think.
It's all good.
I do want to mention that in terms of archaeology in the mound, there's a very, there she is. Go ahead.
All right.
All right, Madam Chair, back to you.
Okay, so we've only got, Maribel, welcome back.
It's crazy because everybody was glitching. I was glitching when I'm not on a Wi-Fi. And
No
here I
worries.
live.
Thank you for jumping back on. We've only got about 15 minutes, so we'll try to be productive, but we're going to move on to H3, which is the sea level rise and flood resiliency plan comments. Just as a reminder, last year, I don't even think it was last year, I think it was in like January of this year, we provided comments to the South Florida Water Management District's
Yes.
sea level rise and flood resiliency plan, with that letter. And I received an email last week from the Water Management District acknowledging all of our comments and talking about how they were incorporating it into next year's plan. So you all saw that email. I think that's great. I watched about 3/4 of that meeting for next year's plan, the 2023 flood level resiliency plan. And the only thing I just wanted to quickly mention, the 2 or 3 things that I saw. They they incorporated a lot of things we talked about. They have now like a green infrastructure section and some other things. I haven't read the plan. I watched 3/4 of the meeting. In the meeting, I did get to the part where they talked about the S27, and they are currently about halfway through the design of a pump system for the S27. And this is really relevant to last week's meeting with the charrette, because they outlined how they were using all of the property next to the structure that is owned by the South Florida Water Management District for that pump, and that it's already barely enough room, and they're putting a smaller pump than they wanted to in that area because of the land limitations.
So were they talking about, so that on that piece of property, they own what's inside the fence, and then they have the right of way to 82nd Street. So are they talking about what they own, what they actually own, or are they talking about larger than that? Do you know?
That they were using, their only limitation was the setback from the railroad. So it looked like they were using all of that property from the road to the railroad to the river.
That's pretty significant, since they don't actually
They
own
don't
all of
own
that.
it. No,
Yeah.
it's all, they don't own any of it except for the little bit. by
I
the
thought
pump.
that who owns that?
Midpoint Plaza. It's part of Midpoint Plaza. Yeah.
Okay, that's what
It's
they
just
were.
their green
talking about.
offset. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what they were talking about using, and the pump that they're proposing there is smaller than the pump that they're proposing for the Biscayne Canal, because they have a smaller area of land to put it in. And they're about halfway through the design, and they said that the project's going to be built and finished by December of 2026. So that's really relevant for our environmental charrette, and I know that that was the targeted area that you all had included in your wonderful presentation. So I just wanted to mention that portion of it.
Cool. It'd be
And-
great. That's a nice signpost for trying to get more information. So that's cool.
Well, I think there are, since they've budgeted $10 million for real estate, I think
Just gonna buy it, right?
they're going to buy it.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my, I just wanted to share the comments with you all. It seems like, I think we're only one of 2 municipalities in the entire region that commented. The counties commented, but only one other municipality, I think, commented. And I was pleased to get a substantive response from them. And I think their comments were meaningful and engaged the district. And now they said they're going to include us in the more technical stuff moving forward. So
I thought it was a
Yeah.
really great response. I thought
Yeah.
it was really, really very encouraging.
yeah, I was shocked that they actually
I was
responded to
very
each.
proud.
Yep. Mm.
Can I add something?
Yep, that's all I had on that. So
Yeah.
floor is yours.
Okay, so yeah, I agree. It was really good. I mean, I think it kind of puts us in a driver's seat, puts the task force in a bit of a driver's seat with the Water Management District. But what really sort of excited me was to get the revised report, because in the last draft that went around, the section on the S27, what they call the S27 Resiliency Project, didn't have much discussion. And there's still not a lot of details, but, in addition to, the real estate and the pump, I mean, the pump has always been, it's like a drop in the bucket pump compared to the quantity of water that has to go out. And the quantity of water that's going to go out, I mean, we still don't know exactly how they're going to do that, but the only way they can really do it is by gravity. Let the water go up to 6 or 7 feet during a major critical rain event, and then you got enough water height in the river to push it out fast. And of course, we get 6 or 7 feet of flooding in El Portal. But there's also, in relation to the RAP stuff, there's this water quality pilot technology, RFI, in there. I mean, there's a lot of discussion where they've taken the things we've talked about resilience, I think, and incorporated into that. So I mean, here's a $100 million project, right in our backyard. And I don't know what water quality pilot technology, RFI, at $500,000 is, but my guess is if they're doing that at the S27, we're going to have an incredibly powerful case to demand we have septic to sewer completed. I mean, it's crazy that the district would spend $500,000 for water quality at a critical point and then not apply huge pressure on the state by whatever means to get this done for us. So
I don't know if this is the same, Hugh, but Everglades Law Center met with the county about 3 pilot programs that they're putting on the Little River. And the closest one was in Larchmont Park. And there's a pump system already there, and they're creating, it's a pilot, but they're putting a fancy new technology that essentially filters out a lot of the pollutants, especially in that area. They said they get a lot of oil from cars because people change their oil and then dump it in the storm drain. So they're doing one right there and then 2 further up the river. My understanding was those were county pilot programs though. So I don't.
Yeah, that's been the same with everything that's been happening. They keep having these. They had Little River AAA had this whole fancy meeting about all the wonderful stuff they're doing in Larchmont and they're doing in the unincorporated area further east. And there's, what about El Portal? I mean, it's the same as the mayor keeps saying. I mean, how can the Little River AAA claim that they're doing what they want to do when the biggest area within the whole thing, the hugest amount of septic systems, is not in the county? The city of Miami is doing their stuff. Most of it's all converted. The county's doing theirs. You'd think they'd want to solve the problem of pollution in the Little River. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's with Murley and those people.
We can't be inside their head, but my impression from the AAA process is that they were taking primary responsibility for the people in the unincorporated areas because other areas have municipal structures like us. I mean, I think that's just
have municipal what?
Have municipalities over them that I mean, I'm not agreeing with it.
Right. No, jurisdictionally, that's correct.
Right. So but I think that's why, I mean, I heard that team talk specifically about wanting to make sure they engage the people in the unincorporated areas.
Yeah. That's why the pilot program, the county's doing under their own MS4 permit in unincorporated Miami-Dade County. So. All right. Anyway, just in the interest of time, anything else on this? Okay, great news. So, Mr. Brown, how long do you think your presentation is? I very much want to hear it, but I don't want to cut you short. That's my concern. You're muted. You're still muted.
Double muted.
I can do it in 3 minutes.
Oh, well, please, absolutely.
Yeah. But it will require a 1 minute introduction. So 4
All
total.
right, 4 minutes.
That was okay.
You can have
5. So I prepared this documents partially as a response to the documents that I prepared to date for the work at the Native American Mound. It kind of shows some of my thoughts and processes as a landscape architect and tries to get this thing going in a direction that is honoring some of the historical context that's on the mound. And there's so much information here within this group that I think it's worth 3 minutes of everybody's time to see what I put together and act as a guiding force on the design. And, you know, I see everybody here as a stakeholder, and I want to represent everybody's, you know, thoughts on this special place. So that being said, I'll share my screen. So El Portal Burial Mound. I started this presentation. It's incomplete. This is simply a progress presentation. I'm going to go over existing conditions and site analysis that is going to influence the design. Here are a couple quick panoramas that are part of the design package, just to start to show what the mound looks like in its current state. I know everybody doesn't live on the mound. I do. But you can see this is the mound from the east end. This is a photo of the mound from the south end. You can see that there's very little vegetation that grows down here, and there's also a continued erosion problem that's been discussed. Apologize. Just a second. And here's another shot of the mound, more of the canopy off the east end to show that the canopy is a little bit lighter on these live oaks and that quite a bit of sun gets through. Here is the actual canopy layout around the mound with all the existing trees. This is important because it's these trees that produce a sunshade study, which ultimately shows what's going to grow beneath the mound. This is the mound, a sunshade study in morning sun, mid-morning sun. Are my computers being slow? And this is afternoon sunshade study. Both of these you can look at and you can realize that there's on the south side of the mound is in shade all day. And on the north and primarily west side of the mound, there's moments of sun. And there's actually full sun in specific areas throughout the entire day. Here's a topographic visual of what the mound looks like from its highest point to its lowest point. You can actually see that, you know, when you look at this, it immediately occurs to you how special this geographic feature is. I get an incredible amount of sheet flow that comes through the property that I live at in a rain event. And this is something that I would like to consider as a property owner mitigating so that water doesn't shoot down the road to Miss Carpenter's spot. Next is project goals. And this is the end of the progress presentation. The goals as I see fit are educate the public on Tequesta Native American history, provide protection from vehicular traffic and parking, provide soft landscape lighting reflected of the residential area, incorporate native plantings relevant to the history of the site and the existing environmental conditions, provide long-term maintenance plan for live oaks. Some of the live oaks are several hundred years old, and align the El Portal's environmental agenda and stormwater management policies, potentially with some of the landscaping that's being done around the mound. There's one note that I'd like to get some feedback here from everybody. Restore the mound to its proper elevation prior to disturbance. I have an archaeological report, actually several archaeological reports here that came with the house, and it makes it very clear that the mound was actually several feet higher than it currently is. Combined with the erosion problem and the protection from vehicular traffic and parking, you know, there is an ability to restore the mound to its previous prominence before the site was developed. So with that being said, if you all could provide your thoughts on this and whether or not you see any of these that shouldn't be a priority, or maybe there's a few that I should add moving forward.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Mayor.
Madam Chair, if Mr. Brown can send this to me, I can get this to you all. And just like the other items, Madam Chair, from earlier, you guys can take this, digest it, and then we can have that full discussion the next regular SNR task force meeting, Madam Chair. So I believe we start this discussion right now, it's going to be about 20 minutes because I know I have a lot on my mind. Hugh has a lot on his mind. So if you can send this to me, Madam Chair, we can get it all ready and we can go right into that discussion. Mr. Brown, if you don't oppose, we can go right into that discussion the next regular SNR task force.
I want to thank Colin for putting it together, though. It's
Yeah.
really
Wonderful.
Great.
Absolutely.
really great.
Yeah.
And thank you all. And I just wanted to make it just say that, you know, when you receive a set of construction drawings that's done in AutoCAD, it's more difficult to provide feedback on that. So what I'm trying to do is give everybody the context of the mound and its conditions so that to try to set a framework for a dialogue amongst us.
Awesome.
That's really helpful, Colin. Thank you.
Welcome.
Are you available for our next task force meeting if we put this as our first
course.
agenda item? Okay, wonderful. All right, so we'll table a discussion, but digest that in the meantime. And then I know we're at 5:30, so we'll just quickly run through the last items. The vacancy, Mayor Nickerson, I'll turn it back over to you.
Madam Chairperson, I reached out after the last meeting. I reached out to member Valencia. She did say that she would be dropping out of the task force. I told her, she said she wasn't sure. I said, make your decision. I said, call me back or send me a letter of resignation, just saying like, you know, you're busy and, you know, you appreciate it. You just want to step down, step back. She said she would, but I haven't heard from her. I reached back out to her, but I haven't heard back from her. But I'm still assuming that because when I spoke to her, it was kind of like 90% or 85% that she was going to step down from her membership role. So I'm assuming that that's going to be an open seat. I don't know when member Webb is coming back. I mean, he reached out to me while like we were probably 45 minutes into the meeting. Then I got an email from him saying, hey, I'm sorry, I won't be able to make it today. I said, okay, no problem. I don't know when he'll be coming back to Miami. I don't know if he wants to.
I mean, they're still owning their property, so they're not selling. And Anita will be back and forth. I think they have renters in the property right now, but I think his intention is to stay on.
Okay, good.
They're on their way out to a family vacation, which is why this was a question, because they're going to be out of the country for a couple of weeks now. I think his intention is to stay on though. So
good. And I was going to ask you that, Madam Vice Chair, because I knew that you know him really well, so you would know his plans. So yes, Madam Chair, we have one position that we'll have to be looking to fill. Going forward.
Was there in our bylaws, didn't we have some attendance requirement? I don't remember. I remember we discussed it at the time, but I don't remember what we actually had in it.
Yeah, we do. So but either way, her attendance and she's stepping down. So we do have one position we have to fill. Moving forward. So start to you guys start to reach out. I don't know if we want to make it Mr. Brown, but then Mr. Brown can't work with anybody else. Mr. Brown can't work.
I'm going to strongly suggest that Mr. Brown not
more than me.
I feel like it's going to be more useful to be able to, from a Sunshine perspective, to have him as a consultant and not necessarily as a committee member.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
But
So
maybe
you guys just kind of, I know we're a loss of time right now. You guys just kind of think about it, just brainstorm like we did for, after Courtney left, and just kind of think about, you guys might know somebody from somebody you work with, somebody you live next to, somebody who might have an interest in this. And let me just tell you, like I say all the time, as far as sustainability and resiliency task force, you guys are active. So it's not like whoever you guys bring in, they're just coming in to do nothing. Like, you guys are active. So, they're going to be happy that they were a part of you all. I don't know, Hugh, if maybe Kat, I know you've been trying to get her more involved. I don't know if that's just for the charrette but anyway,
right now she doesn't. It has to be a resident. I mean, she lives actually in New Jersey right now, so. I mean, she'll be moving down here to work on the house project, and hopefully will become a permanent resident. That would be fabulous. But, but even for her you know, there's just a problem with anybody who's,
I think you would want somebody who has got some working knowledge of, I mean, I'm not a resident, but I think we
Yeah.
need somebody who has a working knowledge of the village.
I mean,
right?
there's so
why
many.
No, I was just throwing it. Sorry about that. You guys, I was just
Why don't
throwing
we
it out
just
there, but
brainstorm and we
brainstorm.
can talk
Yeah.
about it on the next meeting?
I think, I mean, there's some people I know who've been around the village for a while who, you know, have wisdom that I think we could maybe bring in.
Brainstorm, Madam Chair, we're good with this item, Madam Chair. We're good.
Okay, great. So the next, agenda item is the next task force meeting.
Is that good for everybody?
Are we
What?
having,
What's the date?
on the list is,
Take it up.
sorry, too many tabs open.
Oh, August
Wednesday,
3rd.
August 3rd. But aren't we, when is our
That-
next charrette? Isn't that?
Next week, I thought.
Yeah, so maybe we should take a break.
Okay, all right. So you guys want to do it, you could do August 10th, August 17th,
I would vote the 10th or the
August
17th.
20th.
I can do either one.
Guys, tell me which one you want. Just let me know. What are you feeling in your soul? The second week, August 10th, or the third week, August 17th?
I can
Both
do-
are-
First choice. Go with your first choice. What is?
they're
Well,
both
that's tricky for me. So
both are tricky for you?
yeah, I have family in from Chicago on the 10th. And I'm also preparing for the first week of school. The first day of school is that 17th.
Okay.
Oh, do you want to move it to the 24th?
Yeah, what about the 24th?
The 24th would be better for me
Kristen?
because
That's
I
fine.
be exhausted or something.
I think that's fine. My families will be on, back to school, or on their way to back to school that week, but that's fine. No problem.
24th.
24th is okay? The-
24th, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right, great. So, great. So anything else before we close out the regular agenda?
As far as open items, Madam Chair, the only thing we really have to focus on is to, you guys give me those wish lists of, most of you guys have already gotten it to me of, the parks, kind of like what you might want to see, in the parks, just going forward, just kind of start giving me those wish lists. Besides that, Madam Chair, I'll just save the rest for offline, Madam Chair. It depends, it has to do with, me, you, and the village attorney, but it is what it is. Okay, we'll talk about that later on. That's pretty much it, Madam Chair, for important open items. You guys just know that, the charrette is the top priority right now for these special meetings, and the next one is coming up very, very soon.
The date of that, we're getting emailed. Is the village getting emailed for that? Yeah.
Yes, you guys will get an email for the special meeting, just like you get for the regular meetings.
Yeah, I received the one for the planning and zoning with the vacation one. So.
All right.
All right, awesome. Anything else? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
All right, you're muted, Kristen, but I see a second. So all those in favor, say aye. Hearing no opposition, the meeting is officially adjourned at 5:38 p.m.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Maribel. Thank you, Maribel, for
Thank
joining
you.
us
Thank you,
Sorry.
Maribel.
so that we can keep quorum. We appreciate it.